Welcome to Your Journey. I'm your host, Chuck Lewis, and we got a special guest with us today, and Jason Russell, aka J. Russ. What's going on, man?
Chuck Lewis, my man. What's good, baby?
I'm doing good, man. Thank you for coming on to the show. Excited to get you on the show. You have a great journey, and I want you to be able to share that. But it's been a lot going on. Obviously, this year, dealing with COVID-19, how have you and your family adjusted with this pandemic?
It's been cool. I mean, a lot of gym workouts for me. A lot of workouts. That's been getting me through it for real.
Yeah.
And a lot of like family time, a lot of movie nights, a lot of things that make you appreciate, stuff that maybe we didn't, do prior to this year, importance of that. But yeah, the gym, I have to work out. Like, it's to the point where I've never needed it so much in my life.
Yeah.
I hated it, and I never liked working out back in high school. But like, I need it now.
Yeah, well, I'm like the exact opposite. Like, I was in a groove working out all the way up leading up into the pandemic, and then I went completely backwards. Like, I need to get back to the gym. So that maybe it's a little motivation for me, because I actually need to get back into the gym, because when everything shut off, it just really like shut you down, so really, you can get the calisthenics in, the push-ups, the sit-ups, maybe you go outside, but then it was like, well, hey, it's airborne. You was worried about that. And then before you know it, it's like, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, I ain't working out.
The first time when this thing first hit, and I remember everybody was rushing to get food. I remember I went to Walmart, right? That like Friday, that weekend.
Yeah.
You thought it was The Walking Dead around there. Like, people were scared. Like, everybody was like all dressed up some kind of way. People were scared to touch each other, girl. I said, this is the most eerie feeling I've ever had in my life. You're going into the store, man.
Yeah, nah.
It was, because nobody knew what was going on.
The first time we've ever experienced anything like that. And so I think just that transition of not having the freedom to do what you want to do was a challenge, really, just for everybody. And so it seems like right now we're in the process of kind of slowly but surely kind of getting back to normal. Right. But let's get right into it, man. So J. Russ, you're from the North Braddock area. Talk about what it was like growing up in North Braddock, PA as a kid.
It was fun. I mean, it was fun. It was one of those things where you didn't know what you didn't have, you know what I mean? Because we were just all around each other, like, we didn't really go in the suburbs, or, we didn't know what the other kids had. We just made do with what we had, and it made it a great experience. Because one thing that I noticed that we were fortunate to have, like, I grew up with you, a lot of friends our age.
Yeah.
And that made it so much better. Where you could go, and we called it Junior's Yard. Wasn't it that late? Oh, the ladies' yard?
Yeah, Miss Minnie.
Yeah.
But it was Junior's Yard. Right?
We just called it Junior's.
Yeah.
But Miss Minnie, like, it was people like her that I think she don't even realize she had probably like how many kids in her backyard went Division I football?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And just because she let us play in her yard, because we didn't have fields, but we used to play football in the cemetery.
Yeah.
We used to play basketball in the alley, and because that lady just was nice, and she knew that all these black kids need somewhere to play, she never yelled at us. She never got mad. She just welcomed let us go in her yard.
Yeah, I know, man.
We had like 25 kids in her yard just playing football, and she didn't care. And stuff like that made it fun, like, because you can always count on going outside, and there would be 10 to 15 kids within these 3 streets that you just played with. And we all had that same goal of just playing, just having fun, playing basketball, playing football. So it made it cool, man. It was a good situation.
Nah, that's awesome, man. And so you talk about playing football and playing sports at a young age. Actually, at what age did you start playing sports?
Organized or just outside with like
organized sports?
I think I was 7 or 8. I remember Woodland Hills Little League. It was like, so Reese Walker was my best friend growing up, right? Like, Reese Walker, since we was babies, our parents living right next door to each other. They used to babysit us, watch us. Reese's grandma used to watch us when the kids, like our parents at work, when we were too young. And I remember one day they had moved down the street because they used to live on Price, and they moved down the street to Lobinger. And I kept going to Reese's house, and Miss Walker was like, he's at football practice. And I was like, oh, okay. Yeah. And I just kept going back. I didn't know what that meant.
Yeah.
So I would go back the next day. And like, is Reese here? He's at football practice. And I kept like 3 days. I'm like, what is this football? Like, how many days is football practice? Right. Like, I'm like, isn't it just like a 1 day thing?
Yeah.
And he told me what was going on. And I said, hey, I want to go. I went and got a ride, went home. And I was standing there watching, and Lusaka was there. Yeah, and me and Lusaka weren't playing. We were just watching. I remember me and him were just on the sideline watching together. And Coach Curry or Donna Frio, one of the two, I forget which one it was like, hey, y'all guys want to play? And I just said, yeah. Like, I didn't ask my mom or nothing. I was like, yeah, I want to play. And we just watched the practice. And I think they signed up. We just signed up right then and there. But I was horrible, though. So, I mean, I was really trash, Chuck. I was really trash. I cried a lot. Like, I didn't want to get hit. I didn't want to hit nobody. It was that first year was very rough for me.
Yeah. Man, I mean, you talking about starting out playing football, and you mentioned guys like Maurice Walker. I mean, he was one of those guys that started at a really early age. So he was one of the first guys that I knew that played football. And a couple of the other guys that I knew that played football, they played at Swissville, but he was one of the first guys that actually played for like the Woodland Hills Association and started at that young age. So everybody kind of looked at him as a younger guy because he was faster than everybody. He was a guy that he could jump high. And, the things he would do at a young age, you're like, man, this guy's unbelievable at such a young age.
Yes, he was.
But you talked about, how you struggled, but then like the light bulb came on for you. And so when we talk about athlete, one of the first guys that I think of is Jason Russell. So if you're talking about showing up on a football field, a basketball court, or a baseball field, if I got Jason Russell on my team, we got a shot. And he was able to transition well because when we talk about natural athlete, you was able to do it at a high level and it was effortless, right? So you attended Woodland Hills High School, right? What was your experience like there going to Woody High as a student and as an athlete?
As a student, it wasn't good. Like, I had very bad dyslexia. My ADD was horrible. I remember forgetting my mom was on the school board. My mom was on the school board, and I remember all the teachers, definitely kept an eye on me. My mom made sure they kept an eye on me. I wasn't a bad kid. Like, it wasn't like I was like a cut up, nothing like that. I just, struggled with academics, attention. And I remember Miss Edwards? Yeah. Mm-hmm. They didn't have many black teachers. And I remember I had one of her classes, English classes, and she was hard. And I just remember she was like, I had her back-to-back classes. Mm-hmm. And she was like, all right, guys, this is a really hard class. I'm gonna be really hard. If you feel like you can't do it, just raise your hand. You can change your class right now. And I remember I had my hand up and she just put my hand down. So if you want to be in this class, you can stay. But if not, and she said, put your hand down, James. And I was like, you just said, no, your mother said you were going to try to get out my class. You can't get out my class. And I'm like, golly, I couldn't get out of her class. My mom did not play with education. My mom did not play with that. But she fought very hard for me to get the attention on education. Athletics was different. Like I said, athletics was something that, I was really bad at basketball at first. Obviously I was really bad at it. I would cry because my brother wouldn't even pick me up on his team when we went out somewhere. Anyway, I played. We'd go down Swissville, Collingwood. My dad would take us, and if my dad wasn't on the team, I wouldn't get picked up. My dad had to pick me up on the team. Yeah. And I think he even picked me up last sometimes because I was really bad. And I was just really bad at sports. I wasn't really tough. And I think Coach Polite, Lou's dad, who to this day, I give pretty much all the credit for, he got me tough, and it was rough for him to do it at first. It was not easy, he smokes cigarettes, he chews seeds.
Yeah.
I'll be crying. He pull you up. He be on your breath, be all in your face, talking to you. You try to like move with the helmet. He be sitting there yelling at you.
Yeah.
And it took him a few. He got me. He just somehow after a few years of having him, eventually, I think we had termite, mighty mite, midgets. I started getting good at mighty mites, and I remember my first year on midgets. I started at tight end, and I started getting good. And I remember it was like one of the last games of the season. I caught a ball gateway and I got tracked. I remember this. I remember somebody hawked me down. I got caught and I was just taking off. And I think I got caught like 15-yard line. Yeah. And back then, if you got tracked down, everybody's laughing at you.
Yeah, right.
And I remember that. And then the senior year, my last year on Woodland Hills major program, I think I led the team. I had like 14 touchdowns and all catches, but I never got tracked ever again in life after that. Like I just remember, I just made sure I just worked on my speed. I would race Maurice Walker all the time. Yeah. And I made sure I raced him. I started getting faster that way. So, and in basketball, I think I just got taller and my jumping skills got better. And once that started happening, I just started dunking at it like 7th grade and 8th grade. And then once I just that kind of just took on a life of its own. So.
No, it definitely took on a life of its own. So you have some success your sophomore year. You end up cracking the start lineup in basketball. And you get to your junior season in football, and it starts off on a little bit of a roller coaster ride. So you start off at the beginning of the season playing running back, and then by like midway through the season, you end up starting wide receiver. Talk about what that transition was like, and then where were you at mentally just with football?
That was the worst. So my junior year, I remember I didn't even want to play football going in because I had just remembered basketball. I had started, me and Bill Johnson, the sophomore sensations. We started at basketball. I felt like I was more appreciated than basketball. There's only 5 of us on the court. I'm much better in basketball than I am in football in my head. And, this is where I want to be. I'm doing every summer league in basketball. I'm not going to our junior year summer. I'm not doing any summer workouts for football team. I'm just doing all the summer leagues for basketball, right? So I remember I was telling Kev Coles, I'm like, I think I'm going to quit football. I told him that. I'm like, I'm quitting football, man. I'm just going to stick to basketball. Yeah. And he was like, do it. And I just straight up, nothing but basketball summer leagues for the whole summer of my junior year. And I decided to come back for football, but Coach No was punishing me. He put me at running back, and I was a receiver. I made varsity practice team receiver as a sophomore, and you put me at running back. I never played running back in my life. I'm 6'3". I'm not, I'm not a running back. You put me outside linebacker, and I just remember Lusaka got hurt one game. The first game of the season, they put me in. I actually got the ball. But then I just kind of nothing. I was just JV. Yeah. And I was just playing JV, and I was doing good on JV.
I remember.
Yeah, JV was good. I was at running back, and I'm scoring at JV. But I remember what happened towards the end of the season. Everybody started getting hurt. Toot got hurt, and once Toot got hurt, it just made a snowball effect to where, because I was 4th on the wide receiver depth chart. Yeah. It was Mark Berkeley, Pumpkin, Ralph, then me. And so I'm not getting in on varsity. Somehow when Toot got hurt, they moved Ralph to starting corner. This is what made our senior year pretty dope. They moved Ralph to starting corner. They moved Reese to the second running back, and somehow I moved up to the second wide receiver. So everybody just kind of moving around. And I only played but in those 4 games that I played, Reese, his first game, he ran for 130 yards, right? And then that same game, I scored 2 touchdowns for I think I had almost 100 yards that game. And then every game after that, I scored a touchdown at receiver. So I only played 4 games. The last 4 games I wide receiver, but I was productive. So very productive. So it kind of had me going into the senior year like that number one wide receiver. But I knew that wasn't going to be enough, though. Like, I even went up to Nova. I said, I'm not ready. Like, I'm not going to college just playing wide receiver at Pitt. I mean, at Cincinnati. Like, Lord, at Woodland Hills. I don't name all the schools. At Woodland Hills, you don't go to college just playing wide receiver.
Right.
You know, so I knew I had to make some changes going to that next summer.
Nah, man, and you definitely did that. But before next summer comes, you go into your junior season of basketball. You help lead the team to a 21 record, which at that time was the best record ever in school history. I think we even got ranked in the state that year for a couple of weeks.
We're number 3 in the state.
Right. So, you know, what was that experience like playing on that team? That team, pretty much what people don't understand is we really didn't have a true big man. It was like 5 guards, right? Ran everybody off the court. But talk about that experience playing on that team and what it meant to make history at the
That was the best season of basketball that I had ever. Like, to have, you got to realize, like, me, Bill Johnson, Allen, and Raphael Smith, and Brent Purdue, we were called, like, they called us the West Side Connection because I remember we were in West. Bill Johnson's dad, Mr. J. I was actually just talking about him like last Sunday about this. We will always go to all these summer leagues together. We went to all these camps, and we were like the people in going to ninth grade and going to 10th grade. We were the young group that everybody's like, yo, watch out for this group coming up. So when we would do our summer leagues in ninth grade, when we were going to 10th, they would put us in the JV summer league games. They would put us in at the end of the games and take out the people who were going to be soft, like juniors. They would take and put us in and finish the game. We'd come back. So finally, me and Bill started our sophomore year, and then our junior year, like I said, Toots hurt. So now it's me, Bill, Allen, and Ralph, 4 juniors who are in Pumpkin, who's a senior, starting. And us 4 had already had that chemistry. Like, we had already known how good we were, and we knew how to play with each other. So it was unreal. Like, I just remember every time we went somewhere, like, eventually it was a away game, like the crowds would be packed. Cause I remember our first, we did a winter league at the beginning of the season. You do that, we won that. And then I remember the first home game, I was like asking people to come to the game. I was like, hey, man, yo, come on. Hey, we got a game today. Because nobody knew us. Hey, we got a game today. We got a game. Come to the game. Yeah. And it's just like our parents. I actually have it on this highlight tape, Chuck. You can see the game. There's like nobody really there. Yeah. And we're beating this team, but we were good. We're beating this team by like 25. Yeah. I remember Coach G calls a timeout like the fourth quarter. Started the fourth quarter, and he pulls out like a wad of money, and he pulls his wad of money out, and he's like, J. Russ, he's like, dunk the ball, and he like gives this wad of money to Coach Tyler, and he's like, here, Coach Tyler, take this money, J. Russ, dunk it. He dunks it, give him all this money, and I was like, all right, and we come out of the timeout, we play for maybe a minute, and then I remember the ball, somebody, they shoot it, I just take off. Yeah. Somebody Pumpkin gets a rebound, I'm just taking off, throws it to me, and I just go, I think I dunked on like 3 dudes on this opposite team. Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, and one gets fouled, crowd goes crazy. After that dunk, I think it has spilled through the school. Next thing you know, every home game is packed. Yeah. You know, now everybody's watching us. I'm making sure I'm trying to dunk every game. Now the away games are packed. You know, we're blowing people out. We're beating people. It was one of the dopest experiences. The games used to be so fun. It was the worst ending to ever for that season because we should have won it all. Yeah. But overall, that team was so good. Like, I don't know. I wish we talk about it all the time. That's one of the best basketball teams I think Woodland Hills had in a long time. So,
man, like a lot of people that actually don't remember, but I was a sophomore actually on that team.
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of people was like, I remember Chuck, you know, he was, you know, a baseball player. He played a little bit of football, but they didn't know I could hoop a little bit. Not like y'all, but a little bit. So,
what was your number, like 52?
55. So, you know, I got that work. You know what I'm saying? You know, I remember like sitting on the bench, you know, during those games. I think I got a little bit of garbage time, right? But I was just happy to be in the mix because I think there was only a couple sophomores that even made the varsity. As you know, at Woodland Hills at that time, there were so many great athletes. only a few guys even made the varsity. And I just remember watching those games, and we literally, our starting defensive backfield was out there on the basketball court. And we just beat everybody up. We didn't really have, outside of Bill and Allen, they were like true basketball players. Everybody else, like you were a true basketball player, but you really was like a true athlete. So everybody else, it was like, we gonna go out there, we're gonna D everybody up, we gonna lock everybody up, and we just gonna run everybody out the gym. And that's literally what we did. And I remember when we went to that first tournament, I can't remember exactly where it was, but we like stayed over in the hotel. And I remember just sitting there, and I remember sitting there and I was like, if I'm gonna continue to play basketball here, I gotta change my game, because you're not gonna be posting up. Even though I had more of a finesse game, you got to be able to run, because these dudes is running everybody off the court. And it was such an amazing time, because you saw the guys, obviously like yourself, you were very talented, but everybody had a skill, right? I remember there were times where hey, we need to get a bucket, and Allen would go in the game and he would go to work, and he just knew how to finish better than most people, right? And so it was just an amazing time for me to be on a team with that many great athletes who went on to really do big things in football and not basketball. And he had Raphael. I mean, he was the first guy that really had true handle. Like, he had true handle, from Philly. So when I was on that team, I was a young buck, and I was just like, man, I'm just happy to be on the bus. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm just happy to be on the bus. So you talk about your senior year of football, and you transition into that, and you take your game to the next level. You end up being All-State as a defensive back. You also made the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette Fabulous 22 team. What went into that offseason for you to perform at the level that you did, and for the team to perform at the level that you did?
So I remember, like I was saying, like, I knew I had like this revelation. Like, I knew I wasn't going to make it. I wanted to go to college at this point. Like, I want to play college football. And it hit me there that summer. I said, I'm not going to make it just being a wide receiver, just running plays in and out. And we run the ball, 90 times out of, 100 plays. I'm like, I'm not going to make it. So I remember we had a summer workout, and I went up to Coach Morton, and I was like, Coach Morton, I said, hey, Coach Morton, I want to play defense. I want to play safety, because that was my natural position. I'm like, Coach, he's like, all right. Yeah. Somehow Kurt Hall was like, because he had played the year before at safety. He was a backup. And I remember somehow the summer workouts, and we would go to all the passing camps. Mm-hmm. Somehow I was like working with the ones. It'd be me and Sean Spencer back there. Now, I'm telling you the truth, Chuck Lewis, I had no idea what I was doing back there. Not one passing camp all summer. Yeah. I don't remember. I didn't know any of the coverages. I didn't know what the checks were. I was just out there, I was out there, and I knew that I had to prove that I was out going to be good. I remember Street and Smith came out with the top 25, and I had made that for wide receiver, but that had put in ESPN and all this stuff, and I had started getting this recognition, but I knew I wanted to be good for defense. So I remember we went to camp, and this was it. This was like how you prove, you go to Twin Echoes, you got to prove that you want to be with the one. So I remember it was me and Kurt battling out for this other safety position. Sean was going to be the one safety because he started the year before. Me and Kurt battled out for the other position. And I remember they had the offense going on, and it was my turn to play on D. And it was the first snap, and they threw a swing pass to Kurt Hall. And I remember I just ran there from the safety position and just lit him up bad, and Kurt's my guy. I remember I lit him up. And then, like, after that, it was just like, all right. Yeah. It's like it's Jay's position. It kind of was just known at that point that was mine. And from there on, once I knew I was the starting safety, I felt back to comfort, that confidence, knowing I, go back to playing your game. I know the defense now. And it was fun at that point. I knew what I was doing. I was comfortable knowing that I was the man back there at safety, and my game kind of just took off.
Yeah, one of the things I would like to add to that too. So again, I was on that team again, a younger guy. I was a junior, and when you talk about camp, like, practices were so competitive. You know, like I remember like how competitive it was because you know if you play both sides of the ball, you know you might have been on defense in the morning and then at night you might have been on offense. And I pretty much went defense the whole way pretty much that year. But I just remember how competitive the practices were because, like you said, there was Division I guys all the way across the board. You know, and so going to practice, and I just remember that level of competitiveness when we got to that year. I knew we was going to be ready to go out there and perform because we had so much talent. I think when that really hit me, and tell me if you remember this, is when we played Seneca Valley the second game. We lost to them the year before, my sophomore year, which was your junior year. And I remember you caught, I don't know if you caught like an out route or something.
Yeah.
It was called a 3 route, right?
Yeah.
So I remember you caught this 3 route and you made, you know, a quick little jab step move and you hit the sidelines and went like 40 or 50 yards. And I remember watching that and I was like, oh, he's going to really do something this year because it's so easy, effortless. And meanwhile, I think we might have been projected to even lose that game because we had lost them the year before, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
And long story short, the run we went on that year, getting nationally ranked. I mean, I think that might have been maybe the first time in Woodland's history that we was in that position to go on the run that we did, man. It was.
Well, that team, like I always I was doing my thing about who's the best, you know what I mean, the best teams ever, whatever. Yeah. The team that I think made my year and let's just say Stevie's year was your junior year team. Your junior year. Like y'all were like the perfect set of like, if this is us, this was y'all.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, it was the perfect blend of talent from that level of that made those teams that dope. Because you gotta realize most of us never started the year before. We didn't have anybody coming back on offense. Like all 5, like Reese played the last 4 games of the season, but that was it. We didn't come in that way. So everybody else, we were just hungry guys on offense. And the D-line, I mean, the defense was literally did we only have like 2 seniors on defense? 3 seniors on defense?
It was mostly like juniors, and then you had even guys that were like juniors that were battling for positions.
Yeah, I think the only one were me, man, Ralph, Sean, and Sean and Mike Flowers switched off. Other than that, I don't remember. I think it was just all juniors. It was the perfect group blend of talent which made it dope because just like we were trying to prove ourselves, we didn't have people coming back. You know, and you guys were pulling y'all weight. Like y'all were like it was a dope squad. Like that's fun. That team right there will never, to me, I'm sorry. Like everybody talks about the best, but man says it the best from top down, from senior to sophomore level. That's the greatest collection of talent that I think Woodland Hills has ever had on one team.
I mean, you got to figure the talent was good, so good that year. I think my junior year, Shante Spencer was our quarterback.
I know.
My senior year, Steve Breston's the quarterback. You know what I mean? So that's how talented it was. And you had you had Kareem Dutrell that was waiting his turn. You know, he was a sophomore, and there were so many young guys that were in that sophomore group of guys. I mean, Burgoyne's a guy we forget about. He played offensive line, but he actually started a little bit his sophomore game. I mean, they had guys on the line, they had guys in skill position. I mean, Mike Nesby and those guys, but then that junior team, I mean, with Tyree, you know, guys like Monte, Mike Flowers, Mike White. I mean, there were so many guys. Steve Perry, Brian Johnson. I don't want to forget anybody, so if I do, I apologize. Big Hurdo. I mean, it was so many guys on that team, and like I said, practice was so competitive. Nobody was going to back down from a challenge. I mean, you figure if Ralph was out there at receiver, he had to go against Monte. Right, you know what I'm saying? I mean, and then we had tight ends too. We had both Doms that played tight end. They were tough guys. I mean, there were just big guys, and there was just everybody was just competitive, but it was all controlled competitive because we all was boys at the end of the day. But one of the things I want to ask you about is in the midst of that run and in the midst of your high school career, we had rivalry games. Okay, so your senior year. It's Penn Hills, not 8-0. It's Woodland Hills 8-0. We're number 1 in the state. I believe they might have been number 2 in the state if I'm not
mistaken. Yep.
What's going through your mind going through that whole week of practice? And by the way, the week before we played McKeesport, which they had Cecil and Diesel Howard, and they had Keenan Harry and a bunch of guys, Jamie Goodwin, pretty much before about one team that won the states in the track.
I saw the island. The other guy. Yeah.
So what was that experience like leading up to that Penn Hills game? You know, that week before, they're talking about it on Whammo on our way to school. You know, I mean,
Every day
it was built up. And what was the experience like playing in the game?
those last 3 games, because people were acting like our first like 6 games were like cupcake games, so we were blowing everybody out. And then the last 3, right, are Franklin Regional, McKeesport, and Penn Hills. And it started getting tough because that Franklin Regional game was tough. And then I remember McKeesport coming in. It had Cecil Howard, and we got them at home. And that was a tough. Even though we won 21-0, it was still a tough game. And Penn Hills came to that game. I remember they were in the stands watching that game.
Yeah, it was a Saturday game.
It was a Saturday game. And going into, like, I was happy that I was done, that we had beat McKeesport and that was over. So now you get to focus. Like right after that game is over with McKeesport, we take care of them. Now everybody is really focused about Penn Hills now. Like, this is it. This is perfect. Like, this is what we want. And you're right. Like, Whammo's every morning you go to school. Like, before you go to school, you put on Whammo. They're talking. The DJs is talking about it on Whammo. Who y'all got winning? And at nighttime, if you put on Whammo, the DJ's like, who winning? One of Penn Hills. And everybody is going back and forth. So I'm like, yo, this game is absolutely crazy hype right now. This is the hypest game I've ever attended or going to be a part of. It can make you a little nervous, but I wasn't even nervous. It was just like, this is about to be crazy. And I remember we got to the stadium, and this is the first time that I had saw at a stadium where there was a lot of people already in the seats before our bus even pulled up. Like people were in there waiting for this game, and that's when I kind of started getting a little like, all right, what the heck? This is about to be crazy. Yeah. This is about to be a crazy game.
I mean, I don't know if you remember this, but I remember people were sitting like on the steps. Like, I remember like it was so packed that they ran out of places for people to like sit. So like people were sitting on the steps. And then there were people like that were even on the other side.
Yeah, behind the fences.
Yeah, like by where the buses were. So I mean it was just such a crazy environment, and it was such a back and forth and forth. And it was an amazing game, man. Whoever was going to win that game and got out of there alive was pretty much going to win it all. You know what I'm saying?
That was it. Like, for that game, like we're down 10-0 at halftime, right? That's the first time we were down at all of that season. Yeah, it's 10-0. This is a great team. Kirby's like getting busy on us, And I always talk about it, Coach D, man. Like, we didn't even make any halftime adjustments. I remember Ike Davis was getting mad about something, and Coach D, shut the hell up, Ike. And just, like, he cussed out Ike and cussed us all out. Yeah. And then that was it. It was like the ref said, hey, it's time to go. And I was like, no. It was like, all right, well, let's go. And not one halftime adjustment. Yeah. And it was just kind of Coach D cussing us out.
And I think that was what I would say is that's when Sean Spencer –
that was him.
To the next level, and he never looked back. And then he played in 10, 11 years in the NFL. And DeShante Spencer, as we know, Shante Blaze is what we called him.
Shante Blaze. I mean, we put up 30 points in the second half on him. Just the half alone, it was 30 points. And that was a total domination of the second. That was crazy. That was like that second half. I think everything we just started playing regular at that point. It was like, yeah. I mean, they scored one or two more touchdowns, but to put up 30.5 on them.
Yeah, and it was tough. Well, I can talk that. So at this point, yeah, no, for sure. So
that was fun.
Which is 24/7.
You performed at a high level, athletically in football and basketball. You finished up the football season. You finished up the basketball season. Prior to basketball season, you commit to the University of Cincinnati, or maybe in the middle of the basketball season.
Yeah.
What made you commit there, and what other schools were looking at you?
So, coming out of college, I mean, that senior, me and Sean Spencer were getting all the big D1 colleges. Like, we were pretty much the only two on the team that were getting like the boatload of the scholarships. And a lot of them pulled on me because of academics. They're like, maybe you should go to prep school for a year, and my mom, she's like, I just remember the day of our championship game versus McKeesport. I remember watching, how we had the last game. So you just sit on, we might watch the earlier games on TV. That was pretty exciting. You get to watch the games prior to you. And I was flipping on college football Saturday. And I remember Cincinnati was playing. They had this old field. And I remember looking at it and I was like, I will never go to that school. I remember saying that, right? And then they kept recruiting me. And I'm like, y'all stop. Like, like, what are y'all doing? Like, stop it. Yeah. My mom, for some reason, always liked them. Yeah. I have family and I lived in Cincinnati that my mom said I had family. I never saw them. I mean, my mom always said, you got family there, this, and that. Yeah. And my mom said, you need to go on a visit. So, I did all these visits and I went there and I met my boy Davin, who's still my best friend to this day. It just felt right. Yeah. It was just like one of those situations where it was like, the coach even said it. He's like, listen, Jay, you could just go to school for a year. He's like, you can go to a prep school and get recruited. He's like, but we want you here. And the fact that, like, that's what I liked. He was just like, we want you. Like, we want you here with us. Mm-hmm. We don't even want you going out to get recruited again. Mm-hmm. And it felt right. My mom liked it. I liked it. I liked the guys on the team. They treated me crazy. I mean, you thought I was Jesus Shuttlesworth, walk around. Because you got to realize back then we would have games on Friday, basketball games. So I could never go on my recruiting visits Friday and Saturday. I would leave right after our Friday night basketball game and get to whatever place I was at 3, 4 in the morning and wake up. And then I would only have one day to be recruited. Mm-hmm. But they was like, treat me like crazy. Like, I'm not riding a bus with the teams to go to the recruits to go to these locations. Like, they're putting me in some truck with the star player and they're like, yeah, come on, it's like treat you like special. Yeah. And I'm like, wow. And it just felt good. And it was like, this is where I want to be. And I remember when I said, yeah, I'm going to commit here, it actually felt good saying that. Mm-hmm. It was like, this is the place I'm supposed to be at.
So you're coming from Braddock, BA.
Right.
You transitioned down that first year to Southern Ohio to Cincinnati. So that's close to about 4, maybe 5 hours. Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
What was that?
Right next to Kentucky. Literally right on Kentucky.
Right. What was that experience like for you in that first year, transitioning athletically, academically, and personally?
That first semester was horrible. I almost flunked out my first semester. Because you got to realize at the time, I wasn't prepared for school. My mom was just happy that I was in college. But now it's like, mom's not here to get on me. I'm sleeping through classes. It's like, nobody, I'm going to go to class. It's not like I'm not really actually even on the team. I'm just a prop. So, like, I can't lift with the team. I lift with the other props. I lift with the other prop 48, just like 10 of us. And we would have, like, weekly meetings with, like, the recruiter. And I remember the one Coach Ski said, listen, all you guys look around. He's like, more than half of you aren't going to be here at the end of the year. I remember him saying that. And I remember, it was fun. I'm on my own. It's my first time I've ever been on my own. Campus is fun. Like, Cincinnati's campus is dope. You're in the city. It's like the hood. So I don't mind why black people, some having fun. But once that first report card came out, luckily it was tri-semester. That's what saved me. So that first report card came out, and it was like, I didn't even think my mom was allowed to get my report card. Somehow she called me before I even see my grades and was like, yeah, my mom, my parents are very Christian. Yeah. My mom, I don't know. She was getting on me so bad. I never heard my mom talk like that. Yeah. And it changed. Like, after that, something hit. I don't know what hit, but it literally changed everything about me in academics to the point where, you had to go to study table. Remember study table hours?
Yeah, I remember that.
Study table hours ain't nothing but just athletes in there just talking and cutting up. I remember I went to my athletic advisor. I said, listen, you got to take me off this study table. And she was like, now here I'm on, like, this is, I'm the last person to be asking for this right now, right? And you got to take me off of this shit. I'm not going to pass. She's like, well, you ain't passing now. I'm like, this is not going to work for me. I'm telling you, like, I can't be in here and I got to go to the library or something. And she's like, all right, if you flunk out, you fail, it's on you. And I went to the library and I remember I sat down and it was packed. You know, it's like bright lights. I'm in the library. I'm like, where was, it's the library? Wow. So then I sit down and I open my book. It's packed in this library. And I remember I'm just like this. And these two girls walk past me and they like stop by the table I'm at and they're like, oh my God, this is where all the smart people are. And I remember I was like, oh, they think I'm smart. Oh shit. And I'm like, oh my God, this feels. So I just started going to the library fanatically every day. Like after practice, I'd be in there at 10 p.m. I'd be out of there 1, 2 in the morning. I wake up again in the morning. Like I just started doing it every day. I just got obsessed with the process of being smart. You know what I mean? And it was like my grades had flipped years and years. And it got to the point where I started tutoring people. I was a tutor, like stats. And like, I'm like a tutor for every subject for people in class. Like, I'll help you. You can come in at the library. It just hit differently and it changed. But that first year was kind of tough. But I do remember after, because my first semester was so bad, I had 2 more semesters. And I didn't know if I made the team because of grades. I didn't even see my final grades. I never even see my final grades. I just remember we had a team meeting coming in the summer, summer school, then once you work out. And I'm coming. I mean, I didn't hear I wasn't supposed to be here, so I'm just going to come anyway. And the team meeting and coach goes I'm in the back seat with one of my boys, Taiwan Hagler, who ended up going to the NFL, win the Super Bowl, and my boy Tedrick. It's only us 3, and he's like, everybody gives 3 for new Bearcats who made the team, and we're like, oh shoot, we made the team, we did it. And I just remember I went home and I called after the meeting was over. I just remember I went home and I went outside. I was in Cincinnati and I called my mom and dad. My sister was there. My dad always answers the phone on speaker for some reason. He always did that. And I just called, and the first thing I was like, I did it. I just remember they just screamed so loud, and it was just like, finally, they didn't have to pay no more. It was the scholarship kicked in. I was officially, on the team. But that first year, I don't know if this is the next question, but that next year going in now, like my technically first year playing football, was not good. Not good at all.
So what a lot of people don't realize when you talk about being a prop, you actually have you're academically ineligible your first year. And then you have to pay for school for that first year. So when your parents...
And I'm out of state. I'm out of state too. So
you pay double. But your parents are relieved because you're like, okay, like he finally gets to be on scholarship and like he made the team. So now there's like a little bit more security. You know what I'm saying? You live to see another day.
Right.
But importantly, they don't have to worry about paying. But in your first year, you got an opportunity to play under Coach Tomlin, who was if I'm not mistaken, a DB coach at that point in time.
DB coach. Yeah.
What was your experience like under his leadership?
He was cool. He didn't work with me too much. You know what I mean? Because I was a prop. So, but he always would talk to me. Like he always came up because I had to go to the football office all the time. And he was one of the guys who recruited me. He was the guy who recruited me to come there. Wow. But he always looked out for me though, is one thing I will say. You know what I mean? Always just cool, because in the very next year when I'm about to play, that's when he went to the NFL. But even after that, he always, like, one time we had a game and we played USF. He's at Tampa. He came to the hotel to see the team, and he came out. He's like, Russell, man, I'm gonna keep my eye on you, man. Like, he still looked like he's always cool to this day. He's still cool. I mean, to this day, him, Pat Narduzzi, which eventually we'll talk about, cool to this day. But Mike Tomlin was always a funny, goofy guy. That obviously he's serious, but like now, like in college, he was very goofy, funny, down to earth dude to be around. So,
that's great.
Cool guy.
That's great to be able to, see him way before he ascends to this legendary, coach as a head coach, because you actually seen him as a coach. So to get that opportunity to have those close conversations where you kind of probably seen him on the rise of being that head coach that we all know right now is Coach Tomlin. That was a great experience. But you go through another transition. So you get recruited to play defensive back, right? And then in your career at Cincinnati, you end up earning a starting spot at linebacker. Talk about that transition and how did you ultimately feel about that move?
So my first year playing, right after being a prop, and it's camp, and we stretch, break off to positions. I go down to the DBs. The head coach sees me running, blows a whistle, Russell. He like points down, like does one of those to the net. I'm like, huh? What? And I'm like, the linebacker. So I go to the linebacker, and I was like, to the D line. So he has me go down with the D line. Now I'm pissed.
Yeah.
Like, yo, you fooled me. Like, you told me I was a safety. Like, I'm a safety. Yeah. You know what I mean? And I went down there, and I remember I was just pissed. I practiced with camp for a week. I was just miserable the whole time. And then we had this guy, Big Samoan guy, Big Toop, and we were doing this drill, bear crawl drill. I'm miserable, right? I'm doing this bear crawl drill, and you got to hurry up and whip around and go. So I'm going after Toop, but I'm too fast. So, like, I'm catching Toop. And when Toop swings his legs, he boom, just knocks me out. That's just all I remember. So then they say, I don't remember much, but then it's like the ambulance came, the fire truck came. Everybody came on the field to get me off the field. Like, they had to cut my jersey. They do all this stuff. Like, this real bad concussion, hospital. And I was like, eventually I came out, like, y'all got me down there. So they moved me back to safety. Yeah. And they moved back to safety, and I wasn't practicing the safeties for the first 3 weeks of camp, so I didn't know anything. But they eventually moved me to the number 2 spot, and I pulled my groin that first day. So they were like, oh, no, you're done. Mm-hmm. So I was just a scout guy. I was on scout team safety for my first year. Now when you're in scout team, that's like purgatory. You're just there. Nobody's paying attention to you. Yeah. And my confidence is just low. I remember like I'm way better than these guys out here. Like I can do this. Mm-hmm. And I remember we had All-Americans playing safety, but we were like losing these like get games to like Purdue and some other teams that like had real good players. We couldn't tackle. Yeah. And they would do these drills where they wanted the scout team DBs just to run down the sideline and a safety in the corner would just come and just hit you. Yeah. So I'm like standing in the back of the line and I'm seeing this and I'm seeing my boys just get peeled off. Like, one by one, they're just getting peeled off. Like, oh my gosh. And I'm like, hold on, man. Hold on, no. And it was my turn. And I made a move and shook him. And a D coordinator was like, Russell, I didn't tell you to do that. And I said, well, that's the problem. That's why they can't tackle now. So like, I'm like frustrated. Yeah. And what? So I'm like talking back to D coordinator. And he called me, oh, you smart ass. Oh, you think you're good? So then, come on. He sends one of the seniors to do this hitting drill with me. And we go up, and I just, boom, I lay him out. And he's like, Russell, oh, where have you been all my life?
Changed that fast.
And I remember, Yeah, but hold on. I said something smart back. But on scout team, you got me on scout team. Yelling, and he makes me run. And I remember, I never forget this. I remember you had to shave. I wasn't doing anything. My fresh year I was playing. I wasn't even traveling. I wasn't on no special teams. I wasn't on anything. I was just a scout team guy. And I remember I had enough of it. Like I said, it's probably week 7, week 8. I just had enough. My mom would call me all the time, like, well, you traveling, you doing it? I'm like, no, mom, I'm still just not doing nothing. And I remember every Friday before the team left for away games, they had a team meeting. Even if you're on a scout team or you didn't travel, you had to go to the meeting, you always had to shave your beard. They wanted you that year to shave your beard. I'm not shaving nothing, yo. Forget this place, yo. Like, I'm like, I'll forget this place. I don't give a crap about Cincinnati no more. I remember I'm going to this meeting, and we go in there, and I'm waiting. I'm on the defensive side, and the officer on the other side, and the big defensive line coach like, yo, Russ, yo, you ain't shaving, yo. You got to shave. I'm like, I ain't shaving. I remember saying like that, very defensive. Like, I ain't shaving. And the D coordinator come in. He's like, Russell, you shave or yeah? I said, I'm not shaving. And like some of the seniors and all the juniors on the team, like, yo, what, chill, man. Like, they trying to like be authoritative. Like, I'm not shaving, yo. Like, I'm not. Don't talk to me, y'all. Like, I'm just playing. Don't talk to me. And whatever. And he's like, all right, well, you ready to get kicked off the team? All right, come on. I said, yeah, whatever. Let's go. And we're going to the coach's office. And now you got to understand, prior to this, me going to Cincinnati, this coach had told me, my mom and dad ain't had money for me to come here. Listen, we want him. My mom and dad had to raise all this money. They didn't have money for me to get here, none of this stuff. So I'm thinking of this in my head, and we go to the coach's office, and he's on the phone, and the D-line coach and the D coordinator is like, Coach, Jay's not shaving. He said he's fine. You get kicked off the team. And he hangs up the phone, and he's like, what the F is wrong with you? And then I remember I just like laid it all out. You fucking lied to me. You told me how to. I'm going on him like this. And the D coordinator and D-line coach was like, y'all got some stuff to talk about. They just like left. They just left. And I just I'm like, look, man, I said, my sister got cancer. I said, my dad got laid off. You knew all this stuff. And you still wanted me to come here. I said, my mom and parents ain't have money for this. And, we had a talk. And then the next week, I was on kickoff. That's all. That's it. Like, I was just like, I don't care. But here's the funny thing about it. I was on kickoff for the last 4 games. There's this thing about the last 4 games of the season that I had. I was on kickoff the last 4 games, and I literally made every tackle on kickoff.
Wow.
That was it. I was just happy with just like, look, just like, I'm here to be used. And I made every tackle, and all my teammates was happy too, especially all the scout people who were like, you made it out. Like, they were just like kind of like happy I was doing that. Every tackle I made, I was reminding the coaches, like, don't get me lost thinking that you forgot who you recruited. You know what I mean? Well, then I came in the next year, penciled in as a starter.
I think it's huge that you talk about that recruiting process. A lot of the young guys now, a lot of people just in general, they really only see what really goes on Saturday. They don't understand all the stuff that leads up to it. And prior to you even getting to the institution, all the things that happen. So, like, for example, Mike Tomlin recruited you, but he was only there 1 year. Once he leaves, you got a whole new person in that might have a whole new philosophy and didn't see you play in high school, right? So you get to that point where I think you went into the coach's office and you're remembering all that. And guys like us coming from Braddock, man, or that 1514 area, man, if you say it's raining outside, we're going to bring an umbrella. Like, if you say it's sunny outside, it's 80 degrees, we're going to wear shorts and a t-shirt. So whatever you tell us, we're straightforward guys. So when this politics comes into play or these things happen, and I wasn't there at that time, but you have to explain to them it's much bigger than me, especially guys like us going to those big time Division I institutions. You're doing it for your family. The family is sacrificing for you. Not that it's just that they're banking on you just to go pro, but you feel that pressure because you know, hey man, I want to do something for all the sacrifices that everybody made, not just family, but coaches. And like you talked about Lusaka Polite's dad, you know, all the things that he did in helping you become the athlete you became. And so coaches don't know all that, right? So guys like us coming from our program, and the thing with you, you're seeing Shante Spencer starting on Saturday afternoon. You're seeing some of your other guys starting, and even Walker playing that lock-in. You're seeing these guys starting and making plays and doing these things. You're like, man, I was just like them, you know, and I'm not.
Yeah.
So that,
I mean, y'all starting as a freshman at Pitt.
Yeah.
You know, so like I see that, too. And I'm like, man, I should be playing too.
Yeah.
You know, I should be out here, you know, on the field too. But, you know, it was one of those things where once I got penciled in my red shirt sophomore year as a starter, it was back to that time where I told you in high school. Once I was like, all right, now I'm back to being me. Yeah. Like, hey, they actually like made a position. They called it an Apache. Yeah. It was like a rover. It was you're the Apache guy. You're the guy who's always in the field. You're going to go man-to-man on the slot. You're going to be the guy. You're never in the box. Yeah. And once I realized, because I took a senior spot. And it was no looking back after that. So it was sophomore, junior, senior year of me being on that field. So it was a great situation after that. But that's like I said, once I got my confidence back, look, all right, y'all, this is who I am. It was a ride. I loved it.
Yeah. And it was a great ride for you there. You went on to start the last few years there, played in a couple bowl games there. But you get an opportunity to graduate with your bachelor's degree towards the end of your career there. You know, what was that experience like for you to walk across the stage?
That was the best because that was the first in my family to graduate from college. I'm the youngest in my family. In my overall family, like grandparents, there was only two of us, my cousin who went to Morgan State and me, who at the time had graduated. And I think maybe my one cousin did too. So there was only 2 or 3 of us, and there was like 18, 20 cousins, you know, so like not many of us had went to college. It was so surreal. My mom didn't even think I graduated. My mom came up to the graduation, was like texting me during the ceremony, like, Jay, you need to be real with me. And if you really graduated or not, because I heard that you could walk without finishing. And so, and I kept saying like, Mom, I'm good. Yeah, I'm good. She's like, because you got to graduate as a prop. You have to graduate in order to get that extra year of eligibility. But I had actually graduated earlier than that. Because I took that, put in that work. But I'm like, Mom, I graduated. She like, Jason, don't play. Jason, I ain't lying. I ain't driving all the way down here, and you ain't. I'm like, Mom. So then I started questioning myself. Like, did I graduate? Like, my mom really had me questioning myself. Like, I need to go talk to my advisor and make sure this is real, right? But that was huge because I knew like that was something that more than football. I just remember I remember my senior year when my coach gets fired and we get a new coach. And he put Mark D'Antonio, who was at Michigan State, he put me him and Pat Narduzzi at Pitt now. They changed it up. You know what I mean? They're like, all right, Jay, we want you in the A and B gap. I'm like, what? And I remember after that season was over, I just remember after the bowl game, I remember on the field, I was crying on the field. And then I remember I went to the locker room and we were at the Fort Worth Bowl. Jerry Jones was hosting it. And down in Dallas. And I remember I just sat in my locker. Everybody else was in the shower, everybody was getting ready. And I just sat in my locker with my equipment still on. And I took my helmet off and I just got my head buried in this locker. And I'm just crying for another 30 minutes because I knew it was over. Like, I knew it was like, you know what? Like, I did it. You know, I finished. I completed it. But now it's over. Like, I could try for the NFL. I don't want to really though. You know, like regardless if I do, that's cool. But I've accomplished, you know, what I wanted to accomplish.
You know, it's funny that you say that because my final game was at the Motor City Bowl in Detroit.
Oh yeah.
And I remember like kind of the same thing, but mine was more of like it's over, and I was kind of like happy about it. Like it was like I literally remember I literally left the game and I already kind of thought this in my head. Like I was like, you know what? This is over. I'm going to give my gloves to some kid in the stands. I'm going to give my wristbands to some kid in the stands. I'm going to take my shoes off and just leave them somewhere on the side of the field. Like, you know, like that. And I was just going to pretty much like take all my stuff off and just kind of leave it there and walk off, like, you know, with pride, you know, and I had this plan thing and I kind of did that. And it, you know, it was a feeling of like, it was a great run. And, you know, I went through some injuries and things of that nature, but all in all, I know what that feeling is like, man, when you sit there and the bowl game is over, because part of it for me was I was excited, but then the other part of it is like, who am I without football? Like, what do I really do, you know, without football? So you talk about transitioning, and maybe you try out, maybe you don't. You end up having a couple of tryouts anyways with a couple NFL teams. Right. Who did you try out with, and what were those experiences like for you?
Well, I did the pro days. The pro days at Cincinnati, and I never forget this. I did really good. I did good at our pro day at Cincinnati, and the teams that liked me a lot were the Eagles and Panthers. I'll never forget that. They liked me a lot. And I came back home to work out more, and I remember Duquesne. I was working with this trainer. Duquesne was doing a pro day. Now, they used to do another one. You know, you used to do another one, second one, you know, kind of show them, you know, what you can do. Yeah. I trained for it, and I remember I go there. Something's not, the mood isn't right for me. You know, it's different. And I see the Eagles and the Panthers are there again. And the scouts are there, and they're like, "Hey, Russell," like they like literally say that to me as I'm like, "Hey, Russell, how you doing?" I say, "Yeah, I'm here to work out again." And they're like, "You sure?" They're like, "You sure? They really got some good like stuff on you." I'm like, "Yeah, man, I'm gonna blow that out the water this time." Yeah, like, I'm about to blow that out. And I remember my mind wasn't in it. Reese Walker was there, but like my mind wasn't in it, and I did so bad on every drill. Yeah. Like worse. Something just was not clicking with me that day. It got to the point where at that point I knew I was like, yeah, this is a wrap. Like the chance I had, I should have just did that one. I got called, but because I went back and did it again and I wasn't 100% into it, I just ruined any chance I had. The best chance if I just never did this. But yeah, it was bad. It was bad, Junior.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, man, when the career ends and, you know, you had dreams of playing in the NFL and it doesn't quite work out the way that you wanted to, is very tough because now you have to find out who you are outside of the helmet, the pads, and the cleats. But you found your way. So currently right now, you work at the University of Pitt. You're an academic advisor there working in higher education. Talk about your current role.
Right now, I work at University of Pittsburgh. I work in the school. I've been here for, oh my gosh, how long have I been here? 13 years, almost 14 years.
That's big. That's big.
I know. I work in the School of Arts and Sciences. I work with everybody. So I work with the general population, but I also work with athletes because the way Pitt's set up, you know, we have athletic advisors, but even athletes have to meet with the general advisor as well, which I just think they should be with the athletic advisor because, you know, I don't want to deal with schedules at the times. Like, I don't want to do all that. Just go meet with them. You know, I ain't gotta. Last appointment of the day gonna last 2 hours because you know all of a sudden you can't have any night class. So like, so I work with all students, and it's cool. I mean, I it's one of those jobs where when I first started working there, I didn't think I was good enough to be this advisor because it was like of all the people who wants to work in academics, like you know, and over time, like so that first year, I really doubted myself. I really felt like, man, these people coming in here, they paying all this money. It's a good school, man. Like, what's the moms thinking? What's these parents thinking when they dropping their pre-med child off in my office? You know, and I gotta be here. And once I just got confident with everything, I mean, the people love it, man. Like the people love me, man. Like the mom, the parents, the work. Like I really became a beast at this, you know, at this school. And you know, students still to this day, like students who have graduated years ago, you know, when I first started to this day, they'll still shoot me emails. I'll see them out. They'll still remember. I mean, it's a good thing that I like. And a good school overall. University of Pittsburgh is a great academic school.
That was right before COVID hit, and
That's
then
great,
COVID hit,
man.
and it shut
I think the
down
most important
everything.
thing is that you're able to give back to higher education because you received so much from it, whether it was your degree at Cincinnati, your student athlete experience, but then you could tell them about some of your bumps in the road, some of the things that you did, bad, some of the things that you did good as well, so that you can kind of help them accelerate the process. But in the midst of you working in higher education, you decide to pursue another passion of yours, which is comedy. How did that all come about? Now, I know you were a funny guy, in high school, growing up. Some people would probably say you were silly, but where did this passion come from for comedy, and how did you get started in it?
But yeah, there's
I always liked it. I always wanted to do it. I didn't know you could be a comedian. Like, I never knew that. I just watched Sinbad as a kid growing up.
Yeah.
My parents always put on Sinbad. My parents always watched Bill Cosby. My parents always put all these comics on. You'll watch Comic View growing up. So I was just oh man, I was fascinated by it. But I didn't know you could do it. I didn't I didn't know it. Somebody I never questioned how did they do that.
Yeah.
It was just that's just what they are. That's how I always looked at it. But I remember I was dating this girl, so it ties into football and finding yourself. And I remember I was out of football, probably 3 years out removed from football, 3 or 4 years removed from college, and I'm still trying to find myself. And I remember I have this analogy. It's college football, especially play D1. It's you're flying in this plane, this nice jet, and once you kind of get to your senior year, you're still flying on this nice jet, living a life, but now you're flying over the ocean. And once you're done with football, they just drop you off in the middle of the ocean, and you got to find your way back on your feet to land.
Now that's a great analogy. No, that's
yeah.
I wrote that down.
It's they act like they preparing you. They don't. All right, good job, man. And I remember I was dating this girl who I was serious with. But she wanted me to be already established. And, I'm trying to find myself still. And I noticed that she didn't really like me unless I was, only time I noticed she liked me is when she would have her friends over the house. And it's me. So her girlfriends, there'd be about 8 of them. And I'd be over there talking, they laughing. And, that's when she wanted to cuddle up next to me and be all happy next to me. Yeah. And I noticed that, and I talked to somebody. I don't know what made me YouTube or Google how to be open mics, and I saw that you could do it, and I was I didn't know you could just do it. I started it, so I started to try to impress her. And I remember I did a show at Pitt. One of my coworkers look, there's somebody coming. You should try to open up. And I emailed the organization, and they said, yeah, you can open up. You can do 15 minutes. And I was all right. And then I was wait a minute. I've never done 15 minutes. I've never done comedy in my life.
Yeah.
I remember I was about to do this open mic and it got shut down. And so I'm all right, let me do this. And she came with her friends. And, when they walked in, I saw that they looked it's like they're walking in the funeral. Now it's packed at this auditorium in Pitt. It's packed, Chuck. It's packed. And I'm back there about to pee I'm what the heck did I just sign up for?
Right.
Why did I do this? Yeah. And I remember my boy Rob Butler. I hit him up and I said, yo, let's go. And backstage, I'm yo, I forget everything I just wrote down. And I wasn't skilled. He's like, yo, you can't be telling me this. And then, all right, well, come to the stage. And I'm yeah, I forgot everything I wrote down. And then I went on stage and I look at her and her friends and all that, and they just look sad. They're just heads down. And I was well, forget this, man. I'm just being me. Yeah. And I just started remembering some jokes I wrote down from this open mic I wanted to do, and I start telling these stories. I didn't do the full 15 minutes. I only did 8 minutes, but it was funny. Yeah. And once I was over, the people were yeah, man, you're great. And the guy was yeah, that was his first time doing it. And they're what? because I had lied and told him I was doing it for 2 years to get on the show.
All right.
And when I left that place, I remember I couldn't sleep. Like, I was so excited. I felt like I had finally found it. Like, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. Like, I'm supposed to be doing comedy or some type of entertainment. Like, I found a thing that puts me on this level, this pedestal with everybody else. So, like, yeah, I'm gonna work, but I'm gonna do comedy, right? So now it's to the point where I'm touring with Ricky Smiley. I'm doing the big shows at the big theaters. You know, I'm doing these YouTubes that's going viral. Like, I'm doing this. And it was because, look, regardless of how much money I make, when you come to the improv or like Ricky Smiley, there'd be like 4,000, 3,000, 4,000 people sometimes in the show. And in that crowd is everybody, doctors, lawyers, the ballers, whatever, the Instagram girls, whatever. And for that 25, 30 minutes while I'm on stage, spotlights on me, no matter who you are.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You all are looking at me, and I'm not scared of the spotlight. You know what I mean? I'm not scared of it. I'm not scared to be in front of all you people that I don't know and running these jokes on you. Yeah. And it gave me balance. You know what I'm saying? It gave me the ability to kind of do what I want to do, still work, and kind of still have that passion and that football. It had replaced what football was for me. Yeah. You know, and I could do it longer. Yeah. You know, I could do it once a year if I want to. Yeah, you know, if I wanted once a year, a point where I was only doing like 2 or 3 shows. Got to the point where I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna do 2 shows a year. You know, but it was like something that never will leave you. Yeah. And so that's what happened, man. I love it. It's hard. Yeah. It's hard as heck. But
nah, man, that's an amazing story about how you got into it. Because I remember when I first started hearing about it, because, you know, obviously I always lived out the state, and I think my sister went to one of your shows, and then she's like, so, hey, you know, Jay Rusty does comedy. I'm like, for real? Like, I was like, man, I knew he was funny. Like, we had geometry and stuff. Like, you know, we grew up together. I'm like, I mean, he was always like funny. I didn't know he was like that funny. But then as I started thinking about it, I'm like, he would say like the normal thing that someone else would say, but the way he would say it was funnier. You know what I mean? Like, everybody would laugh, and he was always laughing and stuff. And, you know, I think one of the things about you that's been great about your journey is that you never took life like too serious. Like, you was like, I play football, but I play basketball too. Like, that was always your mentality. It was like, hey, Jay Rush, you know, you just scored 21 points last night. It's like, yeah, but like, I didn't even tie my shoes. Like, you would say something like that, like, I played and didn't even tie my shoes, right? You know, you always just like never took it that serious. And to kind of go back to the sports part of this is like, I remember being on the field with you guys, and it started when I was in 8th grade. To go back to, like, you know, when we were undefeated, you know, very similar to, I think, Del Rico Fletcher in their year, you know, their 9th grade team undefeated. But I was in the 8th grade, and you guys were in 9th grade. And I remember even then it was like you would like catch a pass or get a reverse. It's like you're shaking guys, but it's almost like it's like you're not even like, you're just having fun. You just never took it serious. And I think that's been the thing about your journey. I think that's been amazing, is that you never took it too serious, man. You always had fun with it, and you always just embraced the moment that you had, you know, and I think that's been the thing that about your journey that's been great. But one of the other things I think that you also have done a good job as inspiring the youth. So obviously you start, you know, working with the youth or young adults at the college level, but you've also been coaching for a number of years in the flag football league in the inner city of Pittsburgh. So talk about how you got into coaching, and what do you enjoy most about it?
I have a friend, one of my best friends, Chris Kerr. We both worked at Pitt. We started at Pitt at the same time. He's gone now, but I remember we had a new hire event, and I was sitting down, and he just sat next to me because I was the only other black person there, right? So, and we started talking, and he had told me, we started talking, we realized he played football at Pitt. And he said, I knew Saka. I know Tyree. Oh, yeah, I know Tutu. And that's how we came. And we became, from that day, back in 2008, it was just like us being really good friends. And I remember he was like, hey, man, I'm starting this adult flag league. I need one more person for this team to finalize, make everything even. I'm like, dude, I'm not playing no football. Like, I'm done. Like, at this point, I'm like 3 years removed. Like, taking football out my like, dude, don't ask, I'm not playing no football.
Yeah.
He kept asking. I was like, all right, whatever, man, I'll play. So I played in this flag league, and he was like, a year into it, a year and a half, probably around 2000, no, two years later. He was like, Jay, he's like, no, I think we should start. I want to start a youth league. And he was like, you want to coach? And I was like, no, I'm not a coach. Don't ask me to coach. Like, I've never coached anything in my life. And then I remember I started I remember one guy, he had like a school for Black students at the inner city. Mm-hmm. He was like, Jay, you do comedy. I had started comedy. He was like, you do comedy. He was like, can you come talk to the kids at my school in the Hill District? I was like, yeah, sure, no problem. And I remember I started talking to the kids, and then I started getting asked to do that all the time. So I would go to these schools and talk to these Black kids about, just school, staying out of trouble, taking school serious, And something about doing that made me like, you know what, all right, let me see what's up with this coaching thing. Because it was the parents. Like, when you think of coaches or you just think of parents. It's like, golly, I ain't trying to deal with these parents, Yeah. And we started out real short. It was only like 4 of us coaches, and we only had like 20 kids total. And, we just coached these 20 kids, 5 on a team, and we just would do that. And then we as 2000, and then time started going on. We would do a fall and a spring, and then we started getting more kids. Say, hey, let's separate the ages. So then we did a 7 and 9, and we did a 10 and 12 division. And once we did that, then we started getting more kids, and then we started getting more and more kids. And we said, look, let's add a teenage division, and then we added that. And then we started expanding, and then we say, hey, let's start at 5 and 6, and which was like, we like really promoted hard to get this 5. So me and him would go all over the place, all these little functions in Pittsburgh. Me and him would go and try to recruit kids, and then to the point where we had like 4 different sections, and really marketing this. Hey, we had a spot out Southside. We wanted a place in Monroeville or Gateway. We had a place out Slippery Rock. We had a place in North Park, a section. Like, we really marketed this. Like, they got to the point where me and him would go to the Southside. We would coach one of our teams. We would fly. Now, by this time, we had got big, so we have a lot of teams on the South Side. But we wanted to start this North Park League. So me and him would coach South Side. Then me and him would get in the car. We would drive out to North Park. There would be like 8 kids out there. We would coach them. We'd tell parents, listen, don't worry, this is going to get big. After we'd be out there for an hour and a half, we would leave there, drive back to the South Side. Like, Sundays is just rap.
Yeah.
We built the North Park up to eventually get to 100 kids, like the next season. Monroeville got to about 80 or 90 kids. Like, we just kept grinding, going back to places, and now it's to the point where, like, the Steelers. Our relationship with the Steelers, which is funny because at the beginning we were kind of hesitant. Like, we really didn't want to be affiliated with the Steelers because, like, nah, man, we don't want them trying to take our shine. Trying to. Yeah, well, it was like, they're going to try to make it like it's theirs. The Steelers have been the best partners, if you call it, the youth part. Like, they've been so cool with us. They've, like, looked out for us so much. A lot of the players on the Steelers have their kids in our league. Jeff Capel, the coach for the Pitt, his son's in our league. A lot of people who work for, like, a lot of the big programs and the sports figures in Pittsburgh put their kids in our league because of how we, run it. There's like 4 of us, me, my boy Kerr, my boy Shorty, and Jeremiah, us 4 who are in control of the youth league. And every Sunday now, we'll go to one field, and there's like 300 something kids, probably about like 32 teams. And we go down there, and we're there from the morning. We get there at 11 a.m., and I'm not leaving the field till 7 p.m. at night. Wow. And it feels like this, though. It feels like you don't even know you're down there that long. Yeah. Like, you're there. You're there. There's different groups coming in every other hour and a half, and you're just there working with them. Like, it's to the point I do intermittent fasting. So my last meal on Saturday is at 8 p.m. So you're supposed to eat at 12, right, on Sunday. I don't eat because I'm at the field the whole day. So I don't get my first meal till like 7:30 on Sunday.
Mm.
Like I didn't eat one meal because, and I know I'm not even hungry because I'm just down there
And
working.
I actually got a chance to witness that because my nephew has played in the leagues.
Yeah.
So when
It's pretty good too.
Yeah. So what I would do is I would when we lived in Akron, I would, before we get on the road, we would just stop down there and check him out. Back, because that's on the way kind of back, heading back towards Ohio when we lived there. But I've seen like the way it's so structured. It's like, all right, team's playing, boom, next team off. Hey, new team on. So when you're running that, I mean, it's like a whole day thing because there were certain times he had games like maybe at 1, and then he might have a game at 11, and then there might be a game at 4. So like when I would come to town, I couldn't always get to him depending on the time, but I actually seen and then ran into you a couple of times down there during that experience, man. But all that stuff, man, is great, man. And it's just showing you making an impact in the community on many different levels, higher education, and even like the youth and being a staple there in the city of Pittsburgh. We're going to transition to this last segment of the show. It's my favorite segment of the show. It's the top 5 segment of the show. So I got some categories for you and some questions. You give me your top 5 in those categories and questions. So starting off with the first question, Jason Russell, you've been a comedian for a number of years. Give me your top 5 comedians of all time.
Eddie Murphy, Sinbad, Seinfeld, Jay Seinfeld. Rob Stapleton, who I just think is like genius to me. And my favorite of all time, we go Steve Harvey.
Okay. That's a good 5 big time comedians that have done it for a number of years and have the experience and could be funny in many different audiences too. So,
like Dave Chappelle and Kevin Hart, I think they're just on different levels. So that's why I love them.
Yeah. Nah, those guys are funny too. So we're gonna get to the second question. You've loved basketball your whole life.
Yeah.
Top 5 NBA players of all time.
LeBron, number 1.
Hey, I feel the same way, man. So like you said, number 1.
LeBron, obviously Michael, Scottie Pippen,
Great.
Ray Allen. Ray Allen was the man. I used to at UConn. Watch Ray Allen.
So smooth, man.
Ray Allen, and I'm gonna go with Kevin Durant.
Big time, man. Yeah,
Kevin Durant.
Those 5, man, they could show up in any court in the world in they prime, and it's gonna be problems for anybody. I don't know if anybody's going to get out the end of the day with a victory with that team that you're going against. So for my next question is, during your life, you got a chance to visit many different places. Give me the top 5 places you've ever visited or vacationed.
Hawaii, New York City, Miami.
Miami's nice.
That's it. I ain't really went nowhere else. So I ain't been nowhere.
That's cool.
No. Tennessee. Nashville, Tennessee is off the chain.
Yeah, that's good.
Nashville, Tennessee. I love Nashville, Tennessee.
Nashville is nice. I've been to Knoxville, never been to Nashville, but I heard it's pretty nice because we got a family member that lives there in Nashville. It's pretty nice.
Yeah, Nashville's dope.
Yeah. So for my last question, give me your top 5 movies of all time.
Coming to America 1.
Yeah.
Iron Man 1.
Iron Man was good. That was good. Yeah.
Like that first Iron Man. Oh, that's one of my favorite. Avatar.
Mm-hmm.
Harlem Nights.
Throwback,
right?
Yeah. That was
and I'm gonna go with Training Day.
Training Day. Yeah, that was a classic.
Yes.
That was a classic, man. Now, yes. we at the end of the show. First and foremost, man, I just want to thank you for coming on, Jay Russ, man. You've had an unbelievable journey, and one of the reasons why I make the decision to pick certain individuals. So many times I think in our daily lives, we focus so much on like these A-list actors and celebrities, and we got a lot of love for them, but there's everyday people out there making deposits to society and creating change and doing positive things that have an unbelievable journey. And so when I look at your journey, one of the things that I take from it, and if I had to put a statement to it, is you enjoy working with people. I mean, any time when it was from high school, whether it was teammates, whether it was just individuals that, you know, we went to school with, you enjoy working with people, making people laugh, and just being around people. I think the other word that I would say to it is mentorship. You've provided a lot of mentorship to a lot of young people, whether it's through playing flag football, whether it's through working with individuals at the college level. So you're touching two different age brackets and making change and doing some unbelievable things. The other thing I will put on to it, and we talked about this earlier, is when you talk about athlete, and I really mean this, when you talk about athlete, and I've been around a lot of athletes. I've been in college athletics for 13 years. I played at the Division I level. I've been around guys that played in the NFL. But when you talk about athlete, and when you talk about saying, hey, we're going to show up on some field today. It might be a soccer field, it might be a basketball court, or it might be a football field. And you got to bring a guy with you. Jason Russell's one of the guys I'm bringing with me, because when you talk about just a pure natural athlete, you always were that guy, you know, and you made the game look so easy. And you didn't even take it that serious. And, you know, the abilities that you had to go out there and do it at the drop of a hat on any given, whether it was on any given Saturday playing at the college level, or even the Friday and Tuesday nights in high school basketball, you dominated at every level and you made it look so easily. And when you talk about natural athlete, we're not talking about, hey, we're saying, hey, you got to show up. We don't know what your 40 time is. We don't know what your pro agility is. We don't know none of that. You just got to bring 5 guys to the field, and you're one of my 5 guys I'm bringing to the field.
There you go.
So I would say that about your journey, man. You've impacted a lot of people through what you're doing in education, through coaching, and even the way that you played the game, man, and inspired me. Even though I was just a year younger than you, you inspired me to play the game at a high level, man. So I salute you. God bless you on all the stuff that you're doing, man.
Appreciate you, prime time, man. You the man, my guy.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it, man. Well, thanks everyone for tuning into your journey. Be safe and God bless.
My man, Chuck.